God has created people in different styles. Some people use as motive force to move ahead, and some people are made for safety devices. If one is too rash, the safety devices start working and blinking. And some people are used as brakes. If you are moving too fast and you must stop somewhere immediately, the brakes are applied. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Sani, that is the second head of the Ahmadi community, he used to organize things keeping all these in view. For instance, there was one Qazi Muhammad Abdullah Sahib. He used to employ him in Jalsa Salana works always. And once somebody objected that, look here, Qazi Sahib is too slow and far too cautious. He doesn't move ahead, and with such organizations who are spreading and which require dynamic personalities, he's just a misfit. So Sir told him, no, he's not a misfit. I am intentionally keeping him here because there are enough dynamic personalities in the organization. But they move too fast. He warns them in time, he blinks for the warnings and also applies brakes. So I think Shahid is providing us with that,
I'm the brake.
No, not only the brake, but that safety device. Because had you not put in that piece of information, we might have gone. Otherwise, it looked so effective. But this just one factor has changed the whole outlook. So it's important to have every type of person, including in that consultation. This is why Islam pays so much stress on consultation. Very great stress. In fact, this is the only religion which mentions consultation. In no other religion you will find this mentioned anywhere. In any religious book, I mean. Later on people have added things out of their own wisdom. But I have read quite a few books, fundamental books on religion. But this institution of consultation has only been provided by Islam, the Holy Quran. Amruhum Shura Bainahum, Shawirhum Fil Amr. All they are injunctions of the Holy Quran. And I've seen so much benefit, flowing from this institution in every direction. Every important decision you take after consultation is much more blessed and much safer in every direction. So while we are here still in Europe, by the time I hope inshallah you will have made your preliminaries completed, both regarding this building as well as the exploration of the possible sites. And also include Shah, don't forget to include him, otherwise you may not have the warning blinks. And also Mrs. Bahri, she should also be consulted. She has her own approach, very balanced thinking, situated in the middle. I think that should be made use of as well. All right, now what's the next? What is the prayer time? Still have some time? We have about 20 minutes, huh? If anyone wants to ask any question or anything else, please. Yes.
Sorry, I was speaking. We have one center in Qadian, which is our first markaz, and the second markaz is Rabwa. If there is, or if the circumstances force us to create another major center like Rabwa, is there any possibility that we will have similar centers with the same values, with the same values which we have for our center in Qadian and Rabwa? is there a possibility
What
that
do you mean by values?
by value means that we have Hazrat Muslim Islam?
The centers and values, this is a very ambiguous description. Let's begin to think in clear terms. What is a value? The benefit you draw. That is the real value. And if a center is working to its full capacity and is free to work in every direction, it is giving you the full value.
Well, there is
So a meaningful work everywhere is a productive work and a valuable work. And there is one value which is just, mythical or sometimes emotional. And sometimes neither of the two, but still a general blessing by Allah and the remembrance of such things, such pious things which have happened here. That is emotional as well as real in the sense that there is definite blessing of Allah on such spots. So all these are values. So wherever you build a place entirely for the sake of Allah, for serving His cause, that blessing is added to that automatically. It's impossible for you to believe that Allah has finished all His blessing on Mecca and Medina and Qadian later on, and that's all. And now at Rabwa He was completely exhausted. This is not Allah that we know. Wherever you go, wherever you build a place for the sake of Allah and for no other sake, that blessing of Allah can shower on such a place, without any limitation. So that value which we have in mind, that is also available at any time and everywhere. It's only you who will create that value by your good intentions and pure intentions and hard labor put in to achieve that objective. So there is no dearth of places for a religious community as long as they keep their spirit alive. That's what's important. So don't waste your energies in doubts and suspicions.
May I explain myself?
Of course, please. I have explained part you already, haven't I?
Yes, you have, sir.
Yes, so that's enough. Or something else you want to add to this explanation, please?
Like we have the Ijtima in Kaduna,
Yes.
and then we had to move to Ragma after the partition, and we had the Ijtima for there.
Yes.
That is obviously emotional value and spiritual values attached to that part of the life. This is what I meant, that if there is another, or there are other centers besides spiritual things, will there be...
If one center is prevented from operating for a certain extent, to a certain extent, it is tolerable. And beyond that, it begins to hinder in the day-to-day works you have to perform. So for those purposes, a new center has to be built. For instance, if I remain in Rabwa, I will be totally inoperative. No Khalifa can function in Rabwa nowadays because of the government restrictions, because the Ahmadi can remain quiet and work quietly. But a Khalifa cannot remain quiet and work quietly. A Khalifa cannot say a sermon where he does not mention Islam and propagation of Islam and does not speak of expansion of Islam and things. So he will be either way out of circulation. Either living outside the prison and yet be out of circulation, or living inside the prison and being bodily out of circulation. And a place where you are not permitted to hold ijtimas, the central ijtimas for all the world, and also you are not permitted to say sermons on loudspeakers, you are not permitted to hold your annual conferences and things, you are not permitted to publish your literature. So what is the center then? The real value of the center is being gradually demolished with a criminal intent, with a diabolical plan to hit at the roots. This is what is happening in Pakistan, in fact. So we are waiting for the decree of Allah to come. If Allah has so decided that this country is abundant and Allah has decided to destroy the country ultimately, then we will ultimately have to move out. There is no way left to us but to build a new center by shifting the entire central activity from Rabwa to that center. But such decisions must not be taken in a hurry. I hope Pakistan will be saved. I hope Pakistan, because the people there are gradually turning towards Ahmadiyya. So this is my hope. So as long as that process is not interrupted and the people are turning more and more towards Ahmadiyya as they are nowadays, I have hope for Pakistan and no hope for such government which is opposing religion so blatantly. But Allah knows best. If in the next 3 or 4 or 6 months maybe things do not settle down and precipitate, then we will see what happens. And your fears, well, they are fears in a way, but you shouldn't call them fears in reality, because this is another phenomena which can be studied from religious history, that more you are transplanted, greater is the growth rate later on, and some sweetnesses are always added. Although it's a brutal process of transplantation, it's a very traumatic process as far as your sentiments and comforts are concerned. You have to sacrifice naturally, you get injuries both sentimentally and physically and in matter and in what you have built, you have to lose a part thereof at least. And sometimes entirely whatever you have built is lost temporarily. But then what is attached to it, the blessing of Allah, that is very great, out of all proportion to the sacrifice you have to offer. Because the process of transplantation, as I have said, if it's effected in capable hands, and Allah's hands of course are capable, then every time a plant is transplanted, its fruit gains greater sweetness. This is the law of nature. For improving mangoes, for instance, some gardeners, some experts transplant them for 30 to 40 times in short intervals. And the results tell us that the quality of that mango is improved a lot. So under these stresses, under these challenges, of course the qualities of Ahmadis are also improving very rapidly, everywhere. But apart from that, the rate of spread is greater. And apart from that, on top of everything else, then there is a promise of God that you would positively return to that place from where you had been turned out, just because you believed in the messenger of the time. And then you turn with a victory with such great impact that whatever resistance is left is broken down and you sweep the whole place. So what you think are fears, in fact, are not real fears. They are blessings in disguise, but painful process is all the same. When a child is born, naturally a mother has to go through the labor and there are risks involved. So are risks involved in every transplantation as well. As I told you, it is Allah's decree, and whatever is happening in Allah's hands, that is safe. There is no question of any abortion as far as that is concerned. So we must be submitted in our attitude to Allah, completely submissive. And then you have trust, you are in safe hands. Is that all, or you wanted to understand something else?
You have given me the answer what I was looking for. Thank you very much.
The hijrah from Qadian was a hijrah, in fact, in reality, in the sense that it is a physical hijrah. We migrated. But it was not a reality in the sense that we were turned out because we had believed in Hazrat Masih Maud. Nothing of that process occurred there. It was a larger exodus of a people, and we were a very small part thereof. And those who did not believe in Masih Maud Salam, they were the overwhelming majority to us, and they were also expelled. So, in just the strict religious term, the present situation is closer to Hijrah than any other situation before in the history of Ahmadiyya. Because here an enemy is striking at the roots of religion. He has taken on himself, most diabolically, to demolish what has been created by God, and he thinks, the enemy thinks, that what of Ahmadiyya he will achieve through the help of the army and the government and all the agency and power at his disposal, and he will become a lasting hero in the world for being able to demolish Ahmadiyya. Now, if suppose for a fraction of a time that he succeeds in demolishing Ahmadiyya in the sense that he kills a few million people in Pakistan, still it's very stupid of him to believe that Ahmadiyya as such can be finished from the world. It has gone too far outside his reach. Pakistan is still a small place in the geography of the world, and the impact of that, if that happens, would be so great. God forbid that it should happen, but if it does happen, then the impact would be that Ahmadiyya would be 100-fold greater in the rest of the world. So, how stupid of a small man to believe, to conceive that he can demolish a religion expounded by God. It's impossible. Or a true version of an older religion which had been distorted by its own followers, which had been re-established by God. This is the exact case as it is. So smaller men think in small terms, but Allah's decrees and plans are much larger and grander, and they are always defeated. Either way they are defeated. If they succeed to have achieved, appear to have achieved the first objective apparently, even then they are demolished and finished. Because they can't kill a community, they can kill a few people, and the result is exactly the opposite of what they want to achieve. The number spreads, the power spreads, the wealth spreads, the name grow higher and assume bigger proportions and things. But I think this man will not be permitted to go even a few steps in that direction. Because Allah has shown me repeated glad tidings. Only recently, before I came here, I think it was about 4 days ago, that I saw a dream which was very unique in the sense that I met 4 people, and after waking up I realized that all 4 had the name of Bashir, and there was none other. There was one woman, the girl, a woman, I think married woman, whose name is not Bushra. Yet, in the dream, I knowing that, I understand that her name is Bushra. And the Bushra I have in mind when I call her. At the same time, I know she is not the daughter of another Bashir. But that Bushra is daughter of a person who also has the name Bashir, that is the 5th Bashir. But in the dream I have no control over my thoughts. I call her Bushra and I consider her the daughter of another Bashir. Yet her father is known to me, his name is Yusuf and not Bashir at all. And it starts, the first Bashir that appears is Hazrat Mirza Bashir Ahmad Sahib. And he meets me with great respect, and I feel extremely embarrassed. All the life, during his lifetime, I have, had great respect for him, of course, as like everybody else had. But also being his nephew, I had a very special respect for him and love for him. So when he meets me in this capacity, I feel very awkward because he is showing me such respect and such love and such submission that I am surprised. And I keep thinking that how will it happen? It's impossible for me to receive all this honor at his hand But it has to be like that because Allah has chosen me as Khalifa. I have to suffer through this if it is a suffering. And then I meet his servant who is also Bashir. And he has kept a bottle of milk for me. And there was an ex-servant of mine, a boy who lived not exactly a servant, but who we almost, his father was either dead or had become non-Ahmadi, so his grandfather sent that boy to me. His name was also Bashir. So I told him to collect that milk from him. And then I see that patient of mine, an old patient, whose name is not Bushra, whose father is not Bashir, but in the dream, without any effort, but despite myself, I understand her name to be Bushra, and I understand her father's name to be Bashir, and know at the same time that it is not. So when I got up, the impact of that dream was so wonderful to see 4 Bashirs and one Bashir as a father, that was the faith. But immediately the one verse of the Rasul came to me, that Ghamon ka ek din aur 4 shadi, Subhanallahi afdala. 1 day of sorrow and 4 of glad tidings. That is what has been promised to me by God. And it is Allah who has defeated and demolished all my enemies. So that was the first verse that came to me after waking up, as I realized what had happened. And no other person, just Bashir and nothing else. Now this is not all. Most interesting thing is this. In the morning when I met my wife, I told her that Allah has given me some great glad tidings. And she asked me what it is. I said, no, I won't tell you that. But just rest assured that Allah has shown me some great glad tidings. And the next day, some ordinary ladies come to our house to look after, help us during lunch. So a lady had come and she stopped me while I was going for the prayer and said, look here, I want to tell you. I was about to take tea when she told me in the afternoon that I have a dream, I must tell you. I said, what is it? And the day she told me was exactly the day of the dream. She saw a dream that I am telling her that Allah has given me a great glad tidings, and she asked me what it is. And I tell her, no, I won't tell you what it is, but be rest assured that it is a glad tidings. That is what she saw and related to me. The next day, another lady who also comes to the house, she stopped me while I was going for Zohar prayer and said, I must tell you one dream. This is a very strange and interesting dream. I said, what it is? She said that about a few days ago I saw in a dream that you are standing and you are talking to angels, or angels were talking to you. And you tell me that angels has told me that within the next 2 days, Allah is going to speak to me. So that is what was her dream prior to seeing my dream, And that also fitted exactly in time. So that was shown to me to give a reassurance. Because sometimes people see good names in dreams and this ordinarily happens. But not like this, that even before this somebody is informed and after this somebody is informed, and everything just fits in intelligence. So I know things are going to happen, I have no doubt about it. Whatever will happen will be inshallah a great victory for Ahmadiyya. So don't be too hasty in expecting things to move in only in the digital direction. Maybe something else happens.
Ahmadiyya in Islam. Ahmadiyya movement in Islam. And also some books in English. Yes.
You can read them, but other Turkish people don't, most of them don't know English.
Yes, don't.
That's a problem.
only Hazrat, only point I understand all of that and I accept all of that. Only one point which my imam and
He has not been able to make you understand.
Yes.
What is that? Please.
I understood what only I was
Fully satisfied. Yes, please let me know. What is it? Can you try to
Yes,
explain yourself? Okay.
about the receiving Maria,
Yes.
about the
Why it was called Ibn Maryam?
it is the second Maria before the year of Qiyamah.
Yes. You mean وَإِنَّهُ لَيَقُولُ لِلسَّاعَةِ. That is the verse in the Holy Quran. That he should appear before Qiyamah. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
And what is the question about it? You think that Qiyamah has not come. It should have come with him. Is that what?
I believe in my heart that
No, I mean, tell me freely. There is no hesitation about whatever you doubts you have. That's quite natural. Naturally, tell me, because this question is generally asked of me by other Muslims as well. Some non-Ahmadis, ulama, scholars, they come to Rabba, used to come to Rabba and ask questions, and this was one of those. They said, if this is the same Masih Maud that was promised, instead of the first one he has come to fulfill his place, they say, all right, this is understandable. But what about this prophecy of the Holy Quran, that he would be a sign for Qiyamah, so that Qiyamah has not come, which according to the Holy Quran should have come with the coming of Ibn Isa al-Maryam. Is that what you have in mind, that question?
yes.
Is that the one? All right, I'll explain. The fact is that the word Sa, the word Qiyamah is not used in the Holy Quran.
Yeah.
The word Sa is used. Sa. That Sa is used twice in the Holy Quran in connection with the coming of a prophet. Not just once. Where is the second time that it is used? Do you know?
I don't know.
That is used in reference to Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his first coming. And that is اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر. When the moon split into two, that verse was revealed, this which I'm just reciting. اقتربت الساعة. Sa has come very close. And as a sign of that, the moon has split. Now where is that Sa? Where has it gone? Have you ever thought of this? The same word Sa is used in application to the first coming of first appearance of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is come, a sign is shown in the heavens, the moon is split into two. And this is a sign that the Sa is just nigh at hand, is very close. Iqtaraba means something which is about to happen now. And that Sa again is used, that word Sa, in relation to the second coming of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, or Masih ibn Maryam. Innahu wa innahu ilmu lis-sa. He will be the sign for the approaching Sa. So if that Sa is objectionable, it has not happened, where has the first Sa gone? That should also be sent the same way, in the direction of the first Sa. So no objection can be raised from the point of view of a non-Ahmadi Muslim, because first he has to solve the question of first Sa, which should have appeared about 1400 years ago. That hasn't appeared to them. But to us, that Sa has also appeared, and this Sa is also in the process of appearing. Because the word Sa, according to the Muslim scholars and the great scholars, is not only used for Qiyamah, it is also used for great upheavals in the world. It is also used for a spiritual or a religious revolution. That is the Saa. So in the first instance that did happen. The mullah's eye cannot see it because he is a man of the world. He is not a spiritual man anymore now, unfortunately. So he wants to see some physical phenomena which would destroy the whole world. Allah does not send prophets to destroy the whole world. Allah sends the prophets to revive the whole world, to give them a new life. So this is the Saa which is promised in the Holy Quran twice. First, when Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam first came, and second, when his subordinate was to appear with his name, or the Messiah was to come. So in both these occasions, Saa does not mean doomsday or the day of the destruction of the whole world, but it stands for revival of the spiritual world, coming of a new age, new era of revolution in religion. So that is appearing exactly. Was that the question you wanted to ask, or was it a different thing you wanted? आपको पता होगा. Is that the one?
This was the question?
This is a question, but only I think believing from this time that according to Sunni, and according to Sunni belief that we start we come from the heaven.
From the heaven, bodily, yes, yes.
And Qiyamah.
Then the Qiyamah would come. This is what I have explained, that the Qiyamah they believe would come. This word has been taken from Saa in the Holy Quran. And the Saa does not mean that type of Qiyamah which they have in mind.
Yes, I am.
This word Saa has been used before in connection of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if it meant the total destruction of mankind, it should have happened much before, 1400 years ago. And there was no need for any other more destruction when everyone was destroyed. Why to send another Saa? So this word Saa is used in the same meaning as it is used earlier in the Quran regarding the coming of Huzur Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam and a Saa to be given to him as a sign. The same Saa would be repeated at the time of his servant. That is Masih ibn Maryam when he appears again. And this is a very interesting thing to note that this word Saa in the entire Holy Quran is used only in reference to two prophets and to none other. Number one, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number two, Masih ibn Maryam who is to appear during his second coming. So that is to say, it is used only by way of, in connection with Islam and nothing else. Islam is the final revolution in the world, which is going to be a great religious revolution to conquer the entire faiths of the religion, of the world. In the first wave, that Saa appeared partly as a first half during the time of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, first advent. And in the second part, the prophecy of conquest of Islam over the rest of the world was to be completed at the time of Masih ibn Maryam. So this is why the same word Saa is used in this connection, in connection with him. Now you follow this point? The Qiyamah is a spiritual Qiyamah, not a destruction of the world, because that is meaningless. Moreover, this meaning which the ulama attached to this Saa Qiyamah are totally contradicted and categorically contradicted by Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. He says that when Messiah would come, at that time we would have sent two big people on earth. It would be impossible physically to fight those great forces. So we will tell Messiah to recede to the mountain, shelter of mountain, and to abandon the thought of physically fighting the two great forces on earth which have been sent by Allah, and it is not for any man to fight them physically. These are the two East Bloc and West Bloc which have appeared. Russia on one side and America on the other, and all those who follow them. So the world has been divided into two blocks of forces. It is impossible for other people to confront them and win over them. This is exactly what was prophesied by Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa about 1400 years ago, and he tells us that Allah would send a revelation to his servant, that is Messiah, and tell him to abandon the thought of physical fight with weapons, but to pray, and through the power of prayer and by having shelter by the side of the mountain, they would ultimately be made victorious by Allah, because it is not for man to conquer these powers. After that, he tells us, there will be a long age of peace. No Qiyamah. He understood the Holy Quran much better. Of course, he understood it was the only way it should be understood than the Maulvis of today. No Qiyamah is mentioned after that. He says there will be long age of peace that would set in, and a good wind would start blowing in every direction, and people will live in peace and enjoy spiritual life. Then gradually the wind will change into a rotten wind, and things will start changing from good to bad. And when this happens and reaches a point where the whole mankind would become totally rotten and rejectable, Ashrarun Nas, they would become the most mischievous people on earth. Then Qiyamah would come upon those Ashrarun Nas. So this is
on the Kafir.
But
On the Kafir.
yes.
Close to on the Kafir.
Exactly. So, and not on good people. So if the Qiyamah comes close to the Masih Maud, then Qiyamah would come on good people, not on bad people. But Hazur Akram Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says it would come on Ashrarun Nas, the worst people on earth, and there would be no good people among them. So what is the use of coming of Masih Maud if immediately after his coming, everybody on earth becomes Ashrarun Nas? Because unless Ashrarun Nas appear, Qiyamah cannot come. So the explanation of Hazrat Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam contradicts the view of the present day Mullah, that Qiyamah would come immediately after Masih Maud. Please follow the point?
Yes.
Alright, let's say the prayer now. Yes, please.
One of the blessings of Allah, Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
You better speak into the microphone, because then your voice will be recorded, otherwise people who would hear my answer wouldn't know what the question was.
Hazur, one of the blessings of Allah to Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is that He has made the whole earth a place of worship for Him. And what I want to know is that, is there anything relative to this blessing that the shape of the mosque should be kept, as generally we know that there are mosques in Mecca and Muslim countries, or if they are in the shape of some...
This present design of mosque, as we say in the present day, is not one particular set design for a mosque as such. During the history of Islam, at various stages, different dynasties came into being, and different influences of other cultures also got introduced to Islamic construction. Persian way of buildings was different from the Roman way of building. The Indian style was also distinctly apart. The Mughal style of building is different. So the Turkish style has its own characteristics. So in fact, what you see as different designs of mosques, they have nothing Islamic about them as such. Islam doesn't give you a design of the mosque. Islam calls a mosque anything which is built for the purpose of worship, that's all. So the simplest design for a mosque is the design of Mecca, of Khana Kaaba, the house of God in Mecca, which was just a square built, a square without even a minaret. And that was all there was to it. So the reality of worship is denuded of all that decoration, that worldly decoration. But it is only the decoration of one's attitude towards God and one's submission to God which brings adornment to a place of worship. So the second place of worship which is known for us, which in fact has the highest sentimental value for us, is the Masjid al-Nabawi that was built and Masjid al-Quba. This mosque, Masjid al-Nabawi, was a very simple affair of just a building without any minaret, without any dome. It had a simple roof of thatched straw and twigs and leaves, and during the rain, the rain also poured into the mosque. It did not prevent rain coming and entering the mosque. And places, it dripped down with lot of mud which was brought along with it. So that was the type of mosque we had at Masjid al-Nabawi. And the mosque as it was then, very simple and very undecorative. That mosque held the highest esteem of the Muslim world. Although at present day it has been decorated into a grand building, but it has no comparison whatsoever to its original shape and its original form. When Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to pray in that mosque and his followers also prayed behind him. So this is, as I know, the design of mosque. In fact, the design of places of worship is a foreign idea to Islam. It has come from other cultures and also it grew along the passage of time. Even if it's not a foreign idea, it's a process of evolution that it came into being. But they are not important and fundamental things at all. Nowadays in Pakistan, they are saying that only places of worship, they call it places of worship instead of mosques. They should be changed in design so that they don't look like mosques. Of course, they have no right to do that. But I laugh at their stupidity and their ignorance, that how would they give a shape, the shape to the mosque of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which was just like a simple house, nothing more or less about it. So could they go back in history and build a tower over it and a beautiful minaret to make it look like a mosque? So even if they succeed in demolishing the domes and minarets of many mosques and make it a plain looking house, they can't snatch away the character of mosque from that building. It will be even closer to the building that was built by Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also that building which was the first house ever built on earth for the sake of Allah. So there are stupid people, they can't interfere into Islamic values. Islam is above every reach. And the very simplicity of Islam is so wonderful that it cannot be interfered with. Whatever they do to you, they simply can't reach the spirit of Islam that is within you. And that is what is important in the eyes of God, and that is what is important according to the Holy Quran. So the Holy Quran tells us, Khulu zinatakum inda kulli masjidin. It never says that build the mosque most beautifully. Nowhere in the Holy Quran it is ever mentioned that you should build the mosque most beautifully. What it says is a different thing altogether. And this is the beauty of the Holy Quran. It says you adorn the mosques with you. Take your beauty along with you to the mosque so that the mosque becomes beautiful. And what is that beauty? That is taqwa. Libasul taqwa zalika khair. Taqwa is in fact the adornment and beauty for man. And when the Holy Quran says, take your beauty along, your adornment along with you to the mosques, it reminds you of the fact that the apparent construction of the mosque, however beautiful it may be, does not adorn the mosque. It is the worshipper and his quality that brings adornment to the mosque. So if you want to really to make your mosque beautiful, be beautiful within. Send beautiful people to the mosque. Go in a manner that you are totally submissive to the will of Allah, and then your mosque will become beautiful. Like the mosque of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It was the most beautiful mosque ever constructed, because the most beautiful person was in the mosque as a worshipper of God. So that is the spirit and teachings of Islam. So whatever the enemies and Ahmadiyya do to us, they simply cannot snatch away that spirit from us. They cannot make our mosques look uglier by demolishing the domes and minarets, because it is our hearts, the spirits, which have made the mosque beautiful. And they always remain outside their reach.